Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. We are taking a really fascinating journey, one that connects the vibrant, modern digital expressions of Myanmar's culture to a deeply rooted historical struggle. We're going to explore the legacy of Kachin independence. So let's dive right into this, because the story of the Kachin people is this incredible tale of profound resilience, complex geopolitics, and a fight for identity that literally spans centuries. Here's a quick roadmap of what we're going to cover today: modern digital culture, origins of the Kachin, the buffer zone era, WWI and the Panglong promises, and finally, the modern Kachin conflict. All right, let's get started. Section 1, Modern Myanmar Digital Culture. To start off, take a look at this. This is the AlterBug Myanmar Songs platform. In today's digital age, hubs like this are absolutely crucial for listeners trying to discover Burmese music across all the major services. YouTube, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Boomplay, the whole shebang. But what makes this specific platform really stand out from the crowd is its mission. The Burmese text in its description explicitly states a commitment to ethical streaming. Basically, it's a pledge to strictly follow the rules so that the original song owners and the artists themselves directly benefit from the exposure in the plays. It's a really powerful, very modern example of a community fiercely protecting its art and making sure its creators can actually prosper. And, speaking of digital expression, we have to look at this brilliant little moment captured in our sources. A user actually asked an AI to generate an energetic 180-second hard rock song with booming male vocals. The requested title? Trap. But the system completely failed, and it just spit back, "Something went wrong while I was trying to generate your song." I just love this, because this random digital glitch is actually the perfect metaphor for our explainer today. Just as that AI hit an error state, the historical and geopolitical landscape of Myanmar is filled with complex traps, where things, historically speaking, went very, very wrong. So let's transition from this digital trap to the historical ones and go back to the very beginning. Section 2. Origins of the Kachin. Okay, so first things first, the Kachin are not just a single monolithic group. Actually, it's more like a vibrant tapestry of distinct ethno-linguistic clans that happen to share an intertwined destiny. Historically, when we say Kachin, we're talking about these 6 primary clans: the Jinkbal, whose language kind of acts as the regional lingua franca, the Maru, the Lashi, the Atsi, the Rawang, and the Lisu. So they are incredibly diverse, but still deeply connected. Belonging to the Tibeto-Burman language family, the ancestors of these clans migrated south from the Tibetan Plateau way back around the 15th to 16th centuries. And they ended up settling into the incredibly rugged, mountainous terrain of northern Myanmar. Now, originally, they practiced animism, which centered their spiritual lives around Nat, or spirit, and ancestor worship. But politically, they were highly resilient. They organized themselves into these independent village communities ruled by traditional hereditary chiefs called duas. So that fierce independence streak, it was totally baked into their culture right from the start. Section 3, the buffer zone era. For centuries, the Kachin essentially lived in a geographical sweet spot. They were this mountainous buffer zone sandwiched right between the great historical powers of the Burmese kingdoms, like the Konbaung dynasty and Imperial China. And because of exactly where they lived, they controlled the really strategic high mountain passes and those crucial trade routes connecting Yunnan to the Irrawaddy Plains. To put that into perspective, this geography gave them absolutely immense geopolitical leverage. So while lowland powers, whether that was the Burmese kings or the Shan Saufas, the regional royal leaders, might occasionally exert some control over the valley trade towns, the highland Kachin remained fiercely autonomous. The lowland armies struggled heavily whenever they tried to push up into this terrain. The mountains were basically a giant natural fortress. That made the Kachin formidable warriors and highly sought-after military allies. They were practically unconquerable in their own element. Section 4, WW and Panglong promises. Now, a rapid sequence of events over the last 150 years completely shifted the Kachin's destiny. The old status quo was shattered in 1885 when the British annexed Upper Burma. While the Burmese throne actually fell pretty quickly, the Kachin Duas fought back with this fierce guerrilla resistance. It took the British several years to finally subjugate the hills. Then we see the monumental signing of the Panglong Agreement in 1947, followed closely by the birth of Kachin State in 1948, and finally, a really critical turning point in 1961. Let's break these down a bit. Under British rule, the Kachin Hills were administered totally separately from lowland Burma, under what was called the Frontier Areas Administration, and this brought massive cultural shifts. American and European missionaries arrived, leading to a widespread conversion to Christianity and the development of a Latin-based script for the Jingpo language. Then, when World War II hit, the Kachin remained fiercely loyal to the Allied forces, even while others were occupying the lowlands. Operating deep behind enemy lines, elite units like the Kachin Levies and OSS Detachment 101 dealt absolutely crushing blows to Axis supply lines. I mean, they truly cemented their status as world-class jungle fighters. Because of those vital WW2 contributions, Kachin leaders held a ton of political leverage when Burma stood right on the precipice of independence. On February 12, 1947, the legendary Kachin leaders Sama Dua Sinwa Nong signed the Ponglong Agreement alongside General Aung San. This was a foundational document. It promised full internal autonomy, equal rights, and a federal union structure, which early Kachin leaders enthusiastically embraced. But unfortunately, tragedy struck. After General Aung San was assassinated, the new civilian government really struggled. That optimistic dream dissolved, and those promises of equal federal autonomy were systematically sidelined. Section 5. The Modern Kachin Conflict. The real boiling point arrived in 1961 when Buddhism was temporarily declared the state religion. Based on our sources, this specific policy action deeply alienated the heavily Christian Kachin population, whose religious demographics had, as we saw, drastically shifted during the colonial era. At this point, the cultural and political divide had officially fractured. So in response to this alienation and those broken promises from Ponglong, a group of young Kachin intellectuals decided to take action. They formed the Kachin Independence Organization, or KIO, and its military wing, the Kachin Independence Army, the KIA. And this launched a decades-long war. Their goal? The defense of their self-determination, their distinct culture, their lands, and their vast natural resources, which notably includes some of the world's absolute finest jade and rare earth minerals. That strategic mountain buffer of the past, it had basically become a modern battleground for identity and equality. Through ceasefires, renewed civil conflicts, and shifting political landscapes over the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the Kachin people have continuously fought to preserve exactly who they are. Their history is just this profound testament to survival and deep cultural pride. So I want to leave you with this question to reflect on. What does the history of the Kachin people tell us about the unyielding pursuit of true federal equality? When promises of autonomy are broken, the echoes of that fracture can last for generations. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.